To tell us a bit about what maybe the future might hold is a futurist, and Mal Fletcher's on the line from South Oxfordshire. Mal, a very happy New Year to you. How are you?
I'm great, thank you, Mike. Happy New Year to you.
What exactly is a futurist, or how do you become one? You're just an expert in your field, and then from that expertise, you're able to look ahead into the future.
Yeah, it came about for me over several decades, really. It started with generational research in the 1980s and 90s. I was leading a large youth organisation in my homeland, Australia. That then stretched out to take in things like technological change, ethical change, social value shifts, all of that. And that's what I've been writing about and broadcasting about for ever since, really.
So what's going to be different about this new year with regard to technology? We're thinking of everything going more digital than ever, particularly radio and TV?
Yeah, well, that's part of it. And as always, technology doesn't define the future. It's how we choose to use it. So everything I'm saying here has to be taken with that in mind. But I think there's going to be some other areas where we have even bigger developments than entertainment this year. One is in the medical technology field. For about 10 years now, technologists have been talking about 3D bioprinting. That is the use of 3D printing to print human organs for transplant purposes. Basically, it's similar to a 3D printer today that builds things layer on layer out of extruded plastic, except that it uses cellular material to build organic things. And scientists in the US just a few weeks ago figured out a way to create human eye tissue using a patient's stem cells and 3D printing. And that could lead to a breakthrough in treating a whole range of eye diseases, including age-related macular degeneration, which is a big problem in this country.
So that would all happen without you needing a donor, and somebody passing away to give part of their eye to somebody else?
Yeah, essentially, you'd be using the patient's own stem cells, which can take on the form of any cell in the body, and using 3D printer to extrude the overall form. Now, one of the problems with that as we print these organs is that they tend to collapse under their own weight. So now technologists are looking at 3D printing organs in space. So Uganda just a couple of weeks ago released its first satellite with the help of NASA, and on board is some very sophisticated technology to test this whole idea of 3D printing of human tissue.
Wow, this is amazing. I think you also, in your report about what's happening, refer to something as metaverse education. What is that?
Well, there's a lot of talk about the metaverse at the moment. The metaverse, of course, is a virtual environment that people access via virtual reality technology. It's thought to be a more immersive form of today's internet. And you can see the possibilities for things like education. And we're going to hear a lot more about it because Mr. Zuckerberg at the moment is losing money on it. So he wants to promote it, to get more of the public engaged. So you can imagine students sitting in a classroom in a virtual environment watching a historical event take place before their eyes. You can imagine language classes where you're totally immersed in a foreign culture in order to better learn the language. So there are great opportunities. The flip side, of course, is we've already heard reports late last year about assault in the metaverse, especially sexual assault or virtual gang assault. Now, granted, the victims and those who are perpetrating this are only in avatar form, but that doesn't stop the fear that goes with these attacks for the person on the receiving end. So this is going to be a major area where we need regulation, and we certainly need debates about our ethics in the metaverse.
Absolutely. And, I was saying earlier on the air that online shopping is taking over from traditional high street shops, and the same with travel agents going to the wall, same with banks being closed. We're having less face-to-face doctor's appointments and it's more online. And that's all changing, if you like, the high street. It's changing the way we live our lives. But do you think that more things could collapse because it's all going online, and therefore there are disadvantages to better technology?
Yeah, I mean, there are advantages and disadvantages to technology. There are things that will continue to go the way of all flesh, if you like. It's been the way of history. Old jobs are lost, new jobs are gained. The challenge this time will be that change is happening so quickly in the job market, for example, that we may not be able to transition quickly enough to not just change jobs several times in our career, as is currently the case, but entire careers, entire forms of livelihood, and especially with the emergence and growth of artificial intelligence, which will continue apace this year. The one thing I want to say about AI here, though, is there are a couple of limiting factors that people should remember about artificial intelligence. One is that it can't do something very important to human beings, which is empathise, because empathy requires a shared human experience, something by definition a machine can't have.
Sure.
And the other is that AI is driven by data, and we have some say in how much data we hand over to big tech, for example, which then online begins to feed artificial intelligence.
Okay, I get that. Mal, thank you so much for those insights. Really fascinating. And as I say, thank you for being on the show. Really good to talk to you.
Pleasure, Mike. Hope we can do it again. Have a great new year.
Sure. And you. That's Mal Fletcher, our futurist expert today.